Okay, so I decided to do a quick video, and I'm going to try to keep this under 5 minutes. So I gotta be fast. So what I wanted to do a video on was strategic small group instruction when you don't have a block. Okay, that is difficult when you don't have a block, like I didn't, and I don't. It's very important that you be intentional with your time. So who am I? I'm Dr. Butterfly, and I teach arising readers. They call them struggling readers, but I decided I hate that, so I'm calling them arising readers. I just haven't reached them yet. They're on the rise. So I'm gonna do quick who, what, when, where, why, and how. So who, small groups is for everybody. Every teacher needs to stop all this whole group instruction, and at some point for something you must do flexible groupings. There's so many different things that kids can do in groups, but what I'm talking about today is my strategic, intentional, the intentional and skill-based small group instruction that I do 3 days a week. And so like I said, I do them 3 days a week. I typically do them for about 12 minutes. It usually ends up being about 10 by the time you have whatever happens when you try to do a small group happen, transition time, whatever the case may be. But you can set your own up based on whatever you teach. These that I'm talking about today are specifically for skill-based instruction. And every teacher, I don't care what you teach, you should be having some skill-based instruction, because there are some kids that are not being reached. They're being quiet, but you're not reaching them. They're not causing disruption, but they need some more instruction. Okay. So this is when I do it. I say 3 days a week. And I try to do, like, out of a 5-day week, one day would be my introduction to new content, whatever that is. The introduction to the skill, introduction to new vocabulary, just get them primed and ready for the week. And then the second day would be, I start with some type of small formative assessment, which is about 5 minutes. My warm-ups are typically important because for me, they're an opportunity so I can see who is learning the content. I know a lot of people that may decide that they want to do sustained silent reading for their groups. For their their intro to class every day, and that's cool. But since I teach arising readers, I don't find it like the bang for my buck. It's not the best use of my time. Until they arise, they need something very intentional. So I'm very thoughtful about the types of things that I do. I never want to waste time. I want it to be quick, and I want to see, okay, who's getting it, who's not. It's quick and dirty. And that can change, but most of the time it's something quick and dirty on an index card. They come in, they answer this question. Like, for example, when I did context clues, we were talking about 4 different types of context clues that good readers can use. And so I just wanted them to know, when they come to an unfamiliar word, what do you do? If they said use context clues, I know they haven't gotten it, because I told them, hey, everybody can say use context clues. You've been learning that since 3rd grade and still don't know what it means. So I want to know that you know specifically what does that mean. So I want to see that you're saying, I look for synonyms. That means I come to look for words that might mean the same thing. Or I look for antonyms. That means I look for words that mean the opposite. Or I'm looking for commas. Something really that they can give me quickly. I tell them this is a warm-up, not an experience. I don't want this to become my instruction. And if you're not intentional, child, I've had it happen. Those warm-ups can become the day's lesson, and you just like, oh my God. Okay, so that's what we do. So day 1 is the new content. Day 2 is I start with the formative assessment, and then I break into 5-minute stops, and then I break into groups. I just started doing this. I just started doing 2 groups a day. And you got to be like thebomb.com in order to do this, because it is like rapido. So that's why the groups are only like, I said 12 minutes, but it really ends up being like 10. So I get to see 2 groups of students a day, which is really good, especially if you have larger classes. I don't really have large classes. My cap is at 15 since I'm teaching arising readers. Can't have a whole lot at one time. You only got to have a little bit so you can be effective. But that's a whole nother topic. So 2 groups on day 2, 2 groups on day 3, 2 groups on day 4 for 12 minutes each. And at the end of every class, you can do some type of wrap up, really quick, a turn and talk, or think, pair, share with something. What did you learn today? Something quick and dirty to get them remembering what they actually learned, what you actually discussed, and that's it. That's like 43 minutes. Our blocks are like 45 minutes. So I left a little cushion in there, but not much. So if you're not that skilled and you're not quite sure, start off with doing 1 group 3 days a week. If you have, and if not, sometimes you might just want to plan once a month to do a small group rotation, depending on what subject area and what you teach. So just be thoughtful about placement. Be thoughtful about where you place your groups. Like, I do an independent reading group, so my independent reading group is not near my small group, because obviously I'm talking and I don't want to disturb my independent readers. And then why? Like I said, you're not reaching somebody. There's some kids that you're not getting, and you might need to do a reteach. If there's a skill, you get to have a clear picture, and it's of where kids are going wrong, where they're miscuing, where there's something that you might need to clear up in their understanding or confusion. And then most importantly, small groups is easier to hold attention, and it's short. You know, our kids' attention spans aren't that long these days. Everything is fast, fast, fast. So you have to be fast, and they'll get it. And it's repetition, so they will see it again, and they'll move to independent practice. It's because we're rotating through these groups, and then they'll have some type of independent practice. Okay, so usually I do a model. I do that whole group, then I get to small group. I'm doing guided practice, and then we work our way to independent practice. So usually day 5 is independent practice also. Okay, and how, number one thing is order. And I know I'm way over my 5 minutes, so I gotta hurry up. Order is important. The kids have to know what to do in small group. They have to know what to do when they're not in small group. So the ones who aren't in small group, they have to know what is expected of them. And then last but not least, it's worth the time. In gold, if you have to spend upfront time practicing how the class is supposed to function. It's time well spent. Don't think of it as a waste of time. It really is time well spent. So my kids know not to disturb me when I'm in small group, and we have strategies, things in place so that they can get my attention if they absolutely need be. And most times I have an assistant, so it's really not an issue. But they know what to be doing. I'm very clear about what small group looks like. And when you're in stations, I'm giving them something that they already know how to do. I usually do 3 stations, either vocabulary, small group, independent reading. So they get that independent reading time. And anyway, that's another reason why I don't have to start with it at the beginning of the class. Okay, so that's it. And I'm like 3 minutes over, so I gotta go. But drop some questions if you have questions about small group.